All right. I'd like to call to order this work session of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners on September 29th, 2021. And first up, we have Ms. Elizabeth Simpsonstein from Human Relations. Welcome.
Hi, Commissioners. I appreciate your time today. So I have for you the critical illness plan had some changes recently because the Indiana Department of Insurance had some regulation changes. So our plan with VOIA was updated to account for those regulation changes. So I think I sent you a spreadsheet with showing the changes. If you had any questions or anything about what would be changing, our rates are going to stay the same. There's a lot of new coverage for some things that weren't included before, and I will do my best to answer. I don't have all the answers for these things. I didn't get too much into detail with VOIA, but I can do the best I can.
Thank you. Do you have any comments or questions, Commissioner Givens?
Yes, because I don't understand a lot of this.
Sure.
So I'm looking at like the second column, okay, where it says percent of benefits. So if you go down carcinoma in situ, it says 25%. Does that mean that only 25% of the costs associated with having that particular carcinoma would be covered under this plan? And how's the other 75% covered?
So what the critical illness plan, what that does is any employee that signed up for that, if they, submit a claim to VOIA, they're going to get, so depending on what their coverage is, but in that first column, it's the folks that are on plan 3, this is included with their plan. So it's a $5,000 benefit. So they would submit a claim and they would get, depending on what their illness is, they would get up to $5,000 for that illness. So I believe that they would only be eligible for 25%.
Of the cost for the
Yes.
treatment. And
Yeah,
so then,
yes.
Oh, so
Yeah,
then
it's
they're
basically
responsible for everything else then, is that it?
Yeah, so it's basically like reimbursement to them. If their health plan is taking care of the coverage for the whatever their issue is, but this is like replacement compensation for that illness, payment to them for having that illness.
Like Aflac.
Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
So it's a missed work kind of.
Or, whatever it may be, it's for if they're having trouble paying their bills, if they need to miss work, if they need to pay medical bills. It's extra insurance in the event of a critical illness.
And they have to elect it. It's
Correct.
not something that the county provides other than making it available. So this is
we do provide.
Yeah,
we do provide it to anyone who's on an HSA plan. That's an incentive that we have for those on the HSA plan, but otherwise it is an elective insurance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, forgot about that.
Thank you. That makes it all so much clearer.
Yeah, it's like
explain that.
Yeah, they also do our accident policy. So same thing with that. If you get in an accident, they have a long list of all of the accidents that could possibly happen. If you cut your finger off, you get a certain dollar amount for that finger. Other things, so it's just putting a dollar amount onto something that might happen to you and giving that to you if you file a claim.
Okay.
At all?
Thank you. So you're bringing this back next week then for a vote? Is that it? Or what?
I don't know what I should do. It's not necessarily a contract. It's just a change to the plan that requires a signature. So I would be open to Angie or Jeff and their suggestion about what we should do.
Always defer to Jeff. And then the other thing I will always do is if I can get out of having to have something come back to a formal is avoid that at all costs. So my recommendation is that as this is just kind of a update, if you will, to the original plan, is that it can just be signed. But like I said, Jeff needs.
I think that's consistent with how we've looked at these things. This is not a new item by any means. We've had Voya for quite a while. This is what I consider to be a relatively minor adjustment. I mean, this isn't a wholesale change by any course. I think the important thing is to get it approved so that it's part of our documentation to the employees when it goes out for open enrollment. So I would think getting it approved quicker would allow more time to get that all organized.
Thank you. In that case, I would like to move that we approve the Voya critical illness update.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? And I am not seeing any. Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens,
Yes.
motion is approved 2-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And oops, I need to get back to my agenda. Next up, we have Mr. Eric Evans from Technical Services.
Hello. I'm going to table the majority of my presentation today. Given that we're now entering the 5th hour of this meeting, I think it would be borderline sadistic to subject everyone to 20 minutes of technical esoteric concepts. And you have more important things coming up on the agenda. I do want to say that we're entering into the winter months. We've got a number of large infrastructure projects that we're going to be undertaking here at TSD. The first one that I'm going to bring the statement of work to you next week at the formal meeting is to migrate our mail server from an on-premise server to a cloud-based Office 365 server. In short, basically what that means, instead of having a box that sits on our property that hosts all our mail, we're going to put that in the cloud where we can take advantage of redundancies and things of that nature. I wanted to get that out on the out in front of people early because that is the one project that we'll be doing that will have a noticeable impact as we're doing it. There will be select times when and we're going to do it group by group, but there will be select times, usually after hours, where email will be unavailable to a select group. Obviously, we'll give you plenty of advance warning on that. As I say, I'll have more details about this in the coming weeks. And for now, unless there are any pressing questions, I am going to sign off.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your consideration. I'll have to admit that I don't always grapple easily with technical discussions. And at this moment, I think I'd have a really hard time. Commissioner Githens, do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, just I really appreciate the fact that we're moving forward on this. So I look forward to seeing the final thing, hearing about it. Thanks.
Thank you. And next up, we have Drew Myers from Planning. Did Mr. Myers ever get promoted to a panelist?
I've been attempting to promote Mr. Myers, but it has not been successful. They may need to disconnect and re-go.
Oh, there he is.
There it goes. Never mind.
Thank you, Mr. Myers.
Here I am. Okay, let me share my screen here. One moment. Okay, this may look familiar. You've heard it before as a different version of this plan. This is the Joseph Green PUD Outline Plan Amendment 2. It's at 4831 South Rogers Street and 4833 South Rogers Street. So this was heard some time ago by the county commissioners and ultimately received denial based on its version of the plan at that time. Since then, there's been some considerable changes to the plan, and it has actually received a positive recommendation from planning staff, as well as a positive recommendation from the Plan Commission, I believe. Sorry, I don't have that included here, but yes, we do. Let me check up here. Exactly give you the vote of what was given. Yes, so it was forwarded to commissioners from the Plan Commission with a vote of 7-1 for a positive recommendation. So let me go through some of the highlights here of the things that have changed. All right. So overall, just to refresh your memory, this property is multiple zones, multiple parcels that'll all be consolidated into one cohesive parcel and then be rezoned into the PUD. Excuse me, a new PUD. There is one existing there, it's the Joseph Green, but the new one that will come about will be a revised version of the Joseph Green outline plan and PUD amendment. So look, we have here, this one is going to be including paired townhome condominiums instead of separate lots this time, multifamily residences and commercial spaces. So let me look through here and some other things to highlight. Here we have the former uses of the Joseph Green original PUD. Those will be removed and new uses will be added. Here I have the image that you've seen before about which parcels are which, how they were acquired, and the overall configuration of the new parcel itself. Here is the location map. I'm just going to scroll through some of these things here. Definitions about the zoning districts, the current zoning map, as well as the surrounding area. Here we go, use comparison. So there has been a drastic decrease in the amount of uses that were requested for this PUD outline plan, and they're broken down to different areas. So area A is the northern portion that will be entirely open space and is designated as floodplain. As you'll note, there's only one permitted use in that section, and that will be open space. Area B will be the larger structure. It will have the capability of multifamily apartments with a convertible commercial space on the first floor. Instead of starting with commercial space on the first floor, this iteration of the plan will start with multifamily apartments and convert back if the market is available to them for commercial space there. So only a few permitted uses there: bike shop, home occupation, construction trailer, multifamily dwelling, temporary seasonal activity, and wired communications, which is an existing use. So a much smaller grouping of uses there in that area as well. Area C will be the multifamily townhomes area. They will be condominiums, so they will not be on their own individual lot. They will be all on one lot this time. And again, very limited permitted uses there. Construction trailer, primarily for the construction of the project, home occupation, and multifamily dwelling. Area D will be the smaller commercial building on the south end of the property, and it will have one upper level multifamily condominium. This area has the most permitted uses as bike shop, bakery, convenience store, home occupation, multifamily dwelling, restaurant, tavern, and temporary seasonal activity. And then finally, Area E, the southernmost portion of the property, that will be designated as open space and bioretention. So again, only one permitted use there. So overall, significant decrease in uses in this new iteration of the plan. I also provided a table here that shows a comparison of similar zoning districts in the county that you can look at if you'd like to see how things are looking with comparison to medium density residential, high density residential, and limited business. So Area D, that smaller structure with the one unit on the second floor, will be very similar to a limited business type zone. And then the remainders will be very close to MR and HR with a few different kinds of uses sprinkled in.
Mr. Myers, could I ask you to make the font a little bit bigger?
Sure.
I'm afraid I cannot read any of what you're putting up there. That
that better?
helps a whole lot.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Great. Do you want me to cover anything that I've already spoken on?
No, it's okay. Thank you.
All right, so now we have some design standards analysis here. A lot of the design standards are remaining the same, except for some changes pertaining to different uses, as well as some updates to the plan overall. So parking this time, the outline plan amendment will be following Chapter 806, aside from a few different perspectives here. And that is just adding in these different types of uses and requiring certain parking spaces for them. So overall, parking related, I know that was a big piece of conversation in the last amendment petition. So for this one, we have a total of 78 spaces. And then of course, there will be residential garages. Area A, the floodplain area, will not have any parking. Area E, the detention area to the south, will not have any parking. But area B will have 18 spaces. That's an uptick from the last time. Area C will have 37 spaces, and area D will have 23 spaces. So parking will be met with this new plan. And here I have a breakdown again of how it will look with Chapter 806. Landscaping, they're planning on meeting the requirements of Chapter 830, except certain areas. See here, they've also included sustainability standards, which is unique for this particular project. And we can go over some of those if we have any questions. And I'm basically gonna keep scrolling through here a little bit and really get to our discussion about how it's gonna look with the conceptual site plan and the imagery there. So I'm just gonna keep going through some of these places. These are all just design standards that are particular to each of the areas based on gross density, bedroom counts, lot areas, setbacks, all those kinds of things that will be outlined in the outline plan that will need to be followed when they get to a development plan stage. So real quick, before I get to the maps, here's also a table about design standards comparisons. I broke down each of the areas and then some of the big topics that are noteworthy here in comparison to the different zoning districts like before. So you'll note a lot of similarities, very few differences here, particular to this site with respect to existing zoning districts in the county. Okay, I'm going to skip over some of this stuff because most of it is gone unchanged until I can get to, oh, I will stop here for a second. The comprehensive plan discussion, there has been an improvement here as well as from the last iteration of the plan. A lot more green text. Remember that if something is highlighted in green, it means that it's following in line with the comprehensive plan. So much more green in this section now with this new addition or new iteration. I'm sorry that the resolution here looks pretty bad, so it might be hard to read. But just note that a lot of these aspects are following in line with the comprehensive plan more so than the last one. Okay, let me scroll down here for a second. I'm gonna zoom out and then get to this a little bit quicker so we don't get all dizzy. Okay. So this section, Exhibit 2, we have the conceptual site plan. This area here is Area A, the floodplain. as well as open space. You'll note that they have a designated trail that they will construct, as well as some amenities that will be going on in that area. I'm going to scroll down to get a better view of this area. But they've included benches as a portion of an amenity, as well as some signage here to promote some educational services for the floodplain area. So that's area
Mr. Myers, Mr.
Yes.
Myers, what's the orange little thing off on the left there?
This here.
Yes.
This is the, I believe this is the existing Smithville fiber building that's
Okay.
existing.
Thank
And
you.
that is a permitted use within the outline plan. Let me make sure that that's what that is. Yes, that I'm confident that that is the Smithville building.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, this is area B. This area has seen the most change with this new iteration. Building 1 has been reduced in size and stories. It's only 2 stories now, and has a wraparound covered porch. The overall look of the building is expected to look some sort of like a train station style look. But again, significant reduction in size to accommodate more parking, as well as reducing in the height, because we know that that was some concern in the previous plan as well. Again, this building will be multifamily residential with potentially convertible space to commercial on the first floor. Please note too, the petitioners have also added in additional amenity type things, such as pollinator gardens throughout this petition site. And we can see more of that kind of stuff here in a minute. This is area C. So this is the paired townhomes. They will all be paired townhome condominiums, excuse me. They will all be on one lot this time. Plenty of parking here would be the east side of the property. They've also included additional amenity areas between the buildings in this iteration. But as for building size and construction materials, that sort of things, no changes to note with these buildings. All right, and this is area D. So this is building number 5. This is the one that has the most permitted uses. It will have commercial on the first floor or ground floor, and have 1 residential unit above. Parking in these areas, again, go pretty much unchanged, as they provide most of the parking for this area. Another amenity area here, as noted. And then I think, yes, okay. And then the rest of these exhibits are a little bit gargled from the resolution change, but they're pretty much just basically breaking down each area of the outline plan into just brief areas. Let me see, anything else I want to cover? For infrastructure and access, the MS4 coordinator is confident that they will be able to meet the standards, and that will come up during the development plan stage. There is roadway development going on this property as well. There's that road extension through that will be servicing the Southern Meadows major subdivision that will be going in that area. Yeah, I guess for now, I'll open it to any questions that are specific to this petition. And then, of course, I will give a very detailed and nicely organized PowerPoint for the formal session.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Commissioner Givens, do you have any comments or questions?
Well, first of all, I want to thank the developer for all the changes. This has been very, very responsive in terms of the things that we said that we would like to see. And so wow, they really went the extra mile on this. And so I really thank them. On the first iteration that we went through with this, one of the things that I did like that I didn't see here, and we all went through really fast, was sort of a ground level drawing of what the buildings would actually look like. You said it would be sort of a train station look. So this is just my personal thing. I'd like to see it, but I think it will be an improvement over the buildings that are there right now. I drove past them over the weekend and they're not anything attractive or that add to the neighborhood. The other question I had, and again, because it was so fast, will these be independently owned condominiums or will they be owned by some other entity and then rented out to the families?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if I have that information at this time. I can communicate with the petitioner about the intentions of that. Yeah, I can't confidently say either way for that one.
Okay, well, it's just, yeah, it would be nice to know. Thank you.
Of course, I'll write that down.
Thank you. I'll have to admit that my brain is so overloaded at the moment. I don't really have any questions for you, but I will study this and maybe, when do you anticipate it being on an agenda for a regular session?
Keeping consistent with how things have been going with your agendas, I was expecting, let's see here, it would be October 13th for the formal session to give you plenty of time to review it, as well as me to get some additional exhibits or pieces of information from the petitioner to provide you guys.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. And we will hear from you on the 13th.
Sounds good. And I promise I'll be much slower and more thorough in the next presentation.
And bigger font.
Yes, that too.
All right. Thank you. Next up, we have Clerk Nicole Brown for the ongoing discussion regarding Election Central space needs.
Hello, ladies. Can you hear me? This
Yes,
is Tree Martin.
Hi.
I'm here today by the request of the clerk, Nicole Brown. In 2016, we had a satellite location on the second floor in the Showers building. The 2 rooms allocated to us were spacious and allowed for numerous Franklin booths and tables for voting. Once the voter reached us, there was plenty of room to spread out and vote. In the hopes of having numerous voters, we set up the room with 8 e-poll books to check the voter in, 20 Franklin booths positioned around the rooms, 3 tables for voters that wanted or needed to sit to vote, 2 checkout tables, and 2 scanners. At max capacity, we could have handled 80 people voting in the Franklin booths, 6 at the tables, 8 people checking in, and 6 voters checking out. Sadly, this site was not utilized. Wonderful staff, wonderful facility, but limited voters. Our pitfalls were parking at Showers was not adequate. We put cones with signs to vote in our designated voter parking spaces. We would look out the window of our voting site on the second floor and all of our spaces would contain a car, but no voters were in our voting site. Other people doing business in the area had taken our marked parking spaces. Daily, a line would form at Election Central, and one of the workers or myself would go out and say, "No line, no waiting" at the Showers across the street. Few people left the line at Election Central to go to Showers. The reasons, I do not know. The positioning of the satellite location in Showers was the second floor. An elevator was nearby. This could have been a deterrent, but the voter would have had to have visited us first to even know about the elevator. Few people showed up to vote. We did radio ads and we also posted in the Herald Times. The beautiful Showers rooms were a flop. We posted signs from the street, down the sidewalks to the Showers location. We set up people in the building to guide voters to the second floor, but still a flop. Maybe people are creatures of habit and they like knowing their old voting location. Going forward, we need a location that can handle our voters and get them through the voting process efficiently and safely. The way Election Central is now, we can't accommodate 80 people voting at once. 16 voters is probably the max number of voters you can get in the Election Central to vote. I don't believe we will ever be able to ask a voter to vote if they don't feel safe from possible viruses. Even when the COVID has been harnessed, people like me will still take precautions, will still be cognizant of the person beside them. We are asking for more room at Election Central. It is my understanding the election board and the commissioners will be discussing our needs and a possible solution to our voting needs. This October 7th at 1 p.m. is the election board meeting, and I have seen that your name is on the agenda. And that's all I have to present to you. Aren't you glad? We're all exhausted today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we are rather exhausted at this point. And that is all that's on our agenda. Are there any other department heads who wish to present anything?
Yes, commissioners, I had actually emailed 3 different items to Anita and you guys yesterday, this morning. 2 of them are kind of time sensitive, so I want to deal with those. The third one was the animal shelter interlocal. You have it. I'll put it on next week's agenda for your guys' approval. It will be in ordinance form. I don't think there's anything else to talk about that. One item is time sensitive in that about a month ago, we agreed to a lease with IU Health for a testing site. Times have changed. We no longer need that testing site. IU Health has agreed to let us out of the lease without using the 30 days notice, but they'd like to have that done before the end of this month, which gives us, need to get it to them today. So if you guys would go ahead and formally vote to agree to terminate that lease as of September 30th, that would be extremely helpful. You should have a copy of the letter. I will change that, the signatory to probably Lee Jones, since Julie's not here to vote on that. So we can get that out if you approve it.
Thank you. I move that we, oh dear, I forget the word you used. Boyd?
Terminate the lease as of September 30th.
Thank you. I move that we terminate the lease. My brain is not functioning well. Terminate the lease as of 9:30.
I second, and I need to teach you to say so moved to whatever he said, right? Oh, yeah. I second it, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? And I do not see any. So, Mr. Cockrell, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
All right. And then my other item is last Thursday, you guys had voted on the 7 Oaks and designated Julie Thomas as the person to work with us to draft that agreement. We did, or draft the order, excuse me. I'm used to drafting agreements, not orders, and I'm not used to 6-hour meetings. So I forwarded what she had come up with working with us to you guys yesterday morning. Like to get a formal approval. If you guys are interested in that, I would remind you that we have to get the written decision out by next Tuesday.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Githens, do you have any comments or questions?
I need to pull it back up. Sorry, I'm trying to get it right now. Sorry. I guess that just the one point on count one, the actual health order was that individuals could, could have an exemption. And that's, to me, was part of what was important. It's not that a school could ask for exemptions for other people. But that's kind of minor. Maybe I'm missing it.
And I would say that as they were presenting their case, what this is saying is that they did not show that that mechanism was inadequate to address the concerns. Not that they would ask for it, but that was what we're.
Okay. I'm okay with this.
Is that all, Commissioner Givens?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay, well, I only just found it. Yeah, I think I do not have anything to add to this, but I'd like to thank you and Commissioner Thomas and I believe Mr. Baker for having taken care of this in a much more professional manner than I should imagine we would have.
Well, I would ask that you guys go ahead and vote to approve it. I will tell you that it's my intention to send it to the parties. And I would ask if you guys would want, I expect there will be a lot of requests for this order from the media. So I was planning on either sending it directly just to the media that we usually ask us these questions, or even putting it on the website, whatever your preference.
Probably both would be a good idea.
Okay.
And let's see, I would like to move that the written decision for the appeal of Seven Oaks Classical Schools be approved.
Second.
Is there any public comment on this? And I do not see any. Mr. Cockrell, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens,
Yes.
motion is approved 2-0.
Thank you.
And that is all I have.
Excellent. Thank you. I will adjourn this meeting that has taken up the entire day.